This is going to be long, but I need to share it because what happened last week was the most satisfying moment of my life. For privacy, I'm using a throwaway account since some people in my life know my main one. And before anyone asks, no, I'm not posting bank statements or business documents, but I can verify everything privately. This story is 100% real. I'm a 31-year-old guy now, but it really started when I was 23. Fresh out of college with a business administration degree from Arizona State. Nothing fancy. My GPA was 3.4, decent but not impressive. And like most people, I had a mountain of student debt. My family, though, they were obsessed with money and appearances. My dad, Robert Chen, owns a small accounting firm, Chen and Associates. It's successful enough, with maybe a dozen employees and clients ranging from local businesses to a few wealthy families in Scottsdale. My mom, Linda, works as a nurse supervisor at Banner Health. She makes good money, but is always stressed about hospital politics and overtime. Together, they're comfortably middle class. A nice 4-bedroom home in Ahwatukee, decent cars, vacations to San Diego every summer. But despite living well, they were always fixated on status, constantly comparing themselves to neighbors, coworkers, and clients. Every family conversation somehow turned into, who's doing better? Then there's my sister Jessica. She married this finance guy, Derek, when she was 24. Derek works at a mid-tier investment firm, Southwest Capital Management, making about $120,000 a year. He drives a leased BMW, wears tailored suits, and talks about portfolio diversification at every family gathering. My parents idolized him. My dad would make dinner announcements like, "Derek just closed another major account," while my mom smiled proudly, saying, "He's such a driven young man." And then there was me. I was the quiet, creative one, the kid who spent too much time sketching product ideas and reading business books instead of joining sports or socializing. While Jessica won trophies in dance and pageants, I was learning about supply chains and manufacturing processes from library books. But to my parents, that wasn't ambition. It was antisocial behavior. They'd see me reading about logistics management and shake their heads. "Ryan needs to learn how to network," my dad would say. "You can't make money sitting alone reading books," my mom would add. They didn't see value in ideas, only in appearances and connections. When I graduated in 2015, the job market wasn't great. I sent out over 200 applications in 4 months and got maybe a dozen interviews. Most entry-level roles demanded 3 years of experience, which made no sense. Eventually, I landed a position at a small logistics company called Desert Transport Solutions. The pay was $42,000 a year. I lived in a rundown apartment complex called The Palms, with 2 roommates who left dishes everywhere and played video games till 3 a.m. The carpet looked like it hadn't been cleaned since the 90s. The kitchen barely worked. The walls were so thin you could hear everything from next door. My parents, of course, weren't impressed. "This is what happens when you don't apply yourself," my mom would say during Sunday dinners. "Derek had 3 job offers before he graduated," my dad would add. "You should have studied finance or law. Business administration is too broad. No specialization, no respect." Their disappointment was constant. But honestly, the real problem wasn't them. It was my girlfriend, Madison Rodriguez. And I met during junior year at ASU. She was majoring in marketing with a minor in communications and came from serious money. Her dad, Carlos Rodriguez, owned a chain of successful car dealerships around Phoenix, Rodriguez Auto Group. You've probably seen their local commercials. Rod has the deals that make you smile. Madison lived in a completely different world from mine. She had designer handbags that cost more than my monthly rent, went to upscale restaurants in Scottsdale where a single entree was $45, and took frequent trips to Cabo and Vegas, all funded by her parents. Her apartment near campus was luxurious. Granite countertops, stainless steel appliances, walk-in closets, and a view of Tempe Town Lake. It looked like something straight off a real estate ad. At first, I thought she was just a little high maintenance, but overall kind-hearted. And honestly, she was stunning. Blonde hair, perfect highlights that cost hundreds every few weeks, fit body from a personal trainer, and that confident Instagram-ready aura. I knew she was out of my league, but I was hooked. The problem was, Madison had a very specific image of her post-graduation life. She wanted a man who could afford expensive dinners, jewelry for no reason, weekend getaways, and a home in an upscale neighborhood. And me, earning $42K and splitting rent in a noisy apartment, wasn't that guy. She'd often say, "It's not about the money, it's about ambition," which, as I learned, is what people say when it's absolutely about the money. She'd compare me to her friends' boyfriends. Sarah's boyfriend, Brad, a pharmaceutical sales rep, making $85K and driving a new Mustang. Brittany's boyfriend, a real estate agent with an Escalade. Ashley's fiancé, who owned a CrossFit gym and was opening another one. Whenever I'd suggest staying in and ordering pizza, Madison would sigh. "Don't you want more for yourself? For us? Don't you want to build something meaningful?" She said it in this soft, concerned voice, like I was some underachiever she had to fix. The breaking point came about 8 months into my logistics job. Madison wanted to go to her friend Chloe's bachelorette party in Miami. The trip cost around $1,200 per person. Flights, hotels, clubs, spa days, everything. At that time, I had maybe $800 left after bills, and my credit cards were already maxed from trying to keep up with her. When I told her I couldn't afford it, she said, "Then figure it out. Put it on a credit card. Ask your parents. Pick up extra shifts. This is important to me." I refused. "I'm not going into debt for a party," I told her, "and I'm definitely not asking my parents to fund your trip." Her response? "God, Ryan, you're so cheap. It's like you don't even care about my happiness." We fought. She stormed out, slammed the door, and that was that. The next day, I saw on Instagram that she went anyway, with her friend Tyler, who owned a construction company and apparently had no problem spending $1,200 on a weekend. When she got back, she acted like nothing had happened, but everything had changed. She became distant, always on her phone, canceling plans, avoiding eye contact. Then my buddy Jake spotted her having dinner with Tyler at a fancy restaurant in Old Town Scottsdale. That's when I knew. The breakup happened a few days later, in my dingy apartment, while my roommates were home. "I just think we want different things," she said, sitting on my old couch with a salsa stain from a Super Bowl party. "You're content with mediocrity, and I'm not. I need someone who's going somewhere in life." I told her my job was just temporary, that I was learning, building connections. She actually laughed, not cruelly, but like she pitied me. "Ryan, you've been saying that for months," she said. "Tyler owns his own business. He has drive. He can give me the life I deserve." I asked, "So it's about money?" She shook her head. "It's about potential. Some people have it, and some don't." She grabbed her designer purse, which probably cost more than my car payment, and left. The worst part? My family agreed with her. At the next Sunday dinner, I expected sympathy. Instead, I got a lecture. "Madison was good for you," my mom said while serving pot roast. "She pushed you to aim higher. Maybe think about what she said instead of feeling sorry for yourself." "She's realistic," my dad added. "A woman like that has options. You should ask yourself why she chose someone else." My sister Jessica didn't hold back either. "Madison was out of your league. Tyler owns 3 construction crews and just bought a $750K house in Paradise Valley. Cash." Derek, of course, jumped in. "Maybe this is your wake-up call. You can't attract quality women if you're not bringing value to the table. It's basic economics." I sat there listening to my own family explain why my ex was right to dump me. Then Derek continued, acting like he was giving a TED Talk. "You know what your problem is, Ryan? You think small. You need to take risks. Put yourself out there." "Easy for you to say," I muttered. "Your dad got you that job." He smirked. "Connections matter, but you have to use them wisely." My mom nodded in agreement. Jessica chimed in, saying I should focus on girls more appropriate for my situation. I left that dinner completely deflated. My own family thought I was a failure, but they weren't entirely wrong. I was stuck, working a dead-end job, living in a bad apartment, no clear plan for change. I just wasn't going to follow their version of success. So I made a decision that changed everything. I decided to disappear, quietly. No more updates, no social media, no seeking advice or validation. Just pure focus. After that dinner, I decided to go completely off the radar. No more sharing plans, no updates to family, and definitely no asking for advice. If I was going to build something, I was going to do it quietly. The first thing I did was move out of the shared apartment. I found a tiny studio in a rough part of Central Phoenix, $650 a month. The neighborhood wasn't great. Pawn shops, chain restaurants, parking lots, and sirens at night. But it was cheap, and no one I knew would ever drop by. My setup was basic: a mattress on the floor, a second-hand desk from Craigslist, and a folding chair someone had thrown away. From the outside, I looked like a broke college kid who'd given up, and that was exactly how I wanted it to look. While everyone thought I was spiraling, I was actually more focused than ever. I kept my logistics job for steady income and health insurance, but spent every spare hour researching business ideas. I was working 70 to 80 hours a week, days at Desert Transport Solutions, nights studying supply chains, overseas manufacturing, and product sourcing. Then it hit me. The idea came from what I saw at my day job. I noticed how inefficient small businesses were when it came to sourcing products. They were overpaying by ridiculous margins, sometimes 300 to 400%, simply because they didn't know how to contact manufacturers directly. One client, a local restaurant owner, was paying $45 for kitchen tools I knew could be produced overseas for about $12. Another, a boutique shop, was buying $80 items that cost $15 to make. The middlemen were making a fortune, and I realized I could bridge that gap. So I started small. I helped connect local businesses with overseas manufacturers and took a modest commission for facilitating the deals. It wasn't glamorous work. I spent late nights emailing factories in China and Vietnam, navigating broken English and time zone differences, and managing shipments through customs. My first client was a coffee shop owner named Maria. She was paying $18 per ceramic mug through a California distributor. I found a supplier in Guangzhou that could make the same quality mugs with her logo for 60% less, shipping included. My commission on that deal was $340. Not much, but it was more than a week's paycheck at my day job, and it proved the concept worked. Word started to spread through referrals. Maria told a friend who owned a gift shop, who told someone managing a small restaurant chain. Within 6 months, I had around 15 steady clients and was making an extra $2,000 to $3,000 a month. By the end of the first year, my side business was earning more than my full-time job. By month 18, I quit Desert Transport Solutions and went all in. But here's where I played it smart and quiet. Instead of showing off my progress, I leaned into the image of being broke. I stayed in the same tiny studio. I kept driving my beat-up 2003 Honda Civic with faded paint and a dented door. I dressed like I shopped exclusively at clearance racks. Meanwhile, I was saving almost everything I made. My total living expenses were maybe $2,000 a month. "It's sad, but not everyone can handle the pressure of real business," he said, standing by the grill in his polo shirt and designer sunglasses. I just smiled, nodded, and kept quiet, because I was building something far bigger than they could imagine. The beauty of my business was its invisibility. I didn't need a fancy office or employees. I worked from my laptop, met clients at coffee shops, and communicated through email. Nobody had any idea how much money was actually flowing through my operation. By the second year, I had more than 40 regular clients and was building strong relationships with manufacturers who started offering me exclusive deals. But more importantly, I had started developing my own platform, one that would completely change my life. By the time I hit year 2, I wasn't just connecting businesses with suppliers anymore. I was building a system. I noticed that many of my clients needed more than just introductions. They wanted reliable logistics, quality checks, branding, and consistent restocking. So, I started offering end-to-end sourcing solutions, everything from design assistance to product delivery. That's when things started snowballing. I launched a small website, nothing flashy, just a simple portal where businesses could submit product requests. Behind the scenes, I had relationships with dozens of verified factories across Asia. I managed everything myself: price negotiation, shipping coordination, import paperwork, and product customization. Within months, I was overwhelmed with orders. I hired 2 remote assistants from the Philippines to handle client communication and data entry. For quality checks, I partnered with a third-party inspection agency in China. My system was lean, fast, and almost entirely online. By the end of year 2, my net profit crossed $180,000. And nobody, not my family, not my old coworkers, not even my friends, had any idea. To everyone else, I still looked like a struggling guy, driving a faded Civic and wearing $20 sneakers. I stayed in my studio apartment for another year. I didn't upgrade anything. No new car, no fancy watch, no social media flex. I wanted absolute freedom. No questions, no expectations, no noise. Every dollar went back into the business. I started importing small batch products under my own label: eco-friendly home goods, kitchenware, and office supplies. I'd test products with small local stores, refine the supply chain, then expand online. By year 3, I launched a private label brand on Amazon. My sourcing background gave me a massive edge over typical sellers. I had manufacturer relationships, better margins, and reliable fulfillment channels. Within 8 months, that Amazon brand alone was generating over $80,000 in profit a month. Still, I told no one. When my parents invited me to family dinners, I'd show up in the same clothes, driving the same car. I'd tell them I was doing freelance work and getting by. They'd give me the same disapproving looks and unsolicited lectures. "Ryan, you're not getting any younger," my mom would sigh. "You need a stable job, a long-term plan," my dad would add. "Not this gig work nonsense." Meanwhile, I was quietly negotiating supplier contracts worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. By my 5th year, I had multiple brands under my name, 3 full-time remote employees, and partnerships with international warehouses. My total net worth crossed $10 million. I incorporated my business officially as Chen Global Sourcing LLC, mostly for tax and legal purposes. But I didn't even tell my family about that. I wanted to build without interference, without the pressure of proving anything. Then came the real turning point. In my 6th year, I developed a digital platform that automated part of my business model, a B2B sourcing marketplace that matched verified factories with small and medium-sized American businesses. It used data analytics to predict pricing trends and supplier reliability, kind of like a mini Alibaba, but built specifically for US-based retailers and product designers. The concept exploded. Within 18 months, several investors approached me after hearing about the platform through industry contacts. I eventually sold 40% of the company for $18 million in cash and stock options, and retained full control of operations. That deal alone pushed my personal net worth above $40 million, and still, nobody in my family had a clue. By now, I had moved into a penthouse apartment in downtown Phoenix, but I kept my old Civic parked in a storage garage and drove a modest SUV whenever I visited my parents. They still believed I was scraping by. My mom once sent me a link to a job opening at a local office. "It's $52,000 a year, full benefits," she said. "You could finally get back on your feet." I just thanked her and said I'd think about it. It was almost surreal, sitting in board meetings with investors during the week, then listening to my dad lecture me about financial discipline on Sundays. But I didn't correct them. Not yet. I was waiting for the perfect moment. It happened by accident. I never planned to reveal anything, but fate has a strange way of forcing moments you can't avoid. It was a Saturday afternoon in July. My parents were hosting a big family barbecue. Cousins, aunts, uncles, even Derek and his wife were there. I hadn't attended one in over a year, but my mom insisted. "Please, Ryan," she said on the phone, "you've been so distant. Everyone misses you." So I went. I showed up in my usual simple outfit, jeans, sneakers, plain black t-shirt, and parked my SUV a few houses down. Derek arrived at the same time, stepping out of a gleaming new Tesla, designer sunglasses on, talking loudly on his Bluetooth about closing deals. He spotted me and smirked. "Still driving that old beater?" he asked. "Nah," I said, "upgraded a bit." He laughed, assuming I meant another used car. During dinner, the conversation inevitably turned to careers. My uncle asked Derek how his business was doing. Derek leaned back proudly and said, "Good, good. We're expanding to 3 new states next quarter, hoping to hit 8 figures soon." Everyone clapped. Then someone turned to me. "And what about you, Ryan? Still freelancing?" I hesitated, sipping my drink. "Yeah," I said casually. "Things have been steady." I hesitated, sipping my drink. Yeah, I said casually. Things have been steady. That answer wasn't enough for Derek. Come on, man, he said with a grin. You've been steady for what, 6 years? You've got to make some real moves soon. Everyone laughed lightly, not cruelly, just awkwardly. The same polite laughter that used to burn through me years ago. But this time, I didn't feel anger. I felt calm, detached. After dinner, while people were chatting in the backyard, my dad came up to me quietly. Son, he said, you know we just want what's best for you. Your brothers offered to help you find a real job. Maybe you should consider it. That was the moment I decided to tell them. Not to brag, but to end the illusion. I smiled. Actually, Dad, I'm doing all right. He looked skeptical. All right, how? I took out my phone, opened a private document, and showed him a line from a recent financial report, the sale agreement for my company shares. It showed a transaction amount that started with 18,000 million. He blinked, trying to process it. Is this real? He whispered. I nodded. That's from last year. I own a sourcing and logistics platform. It's doing well. My mom came over, curious. She saw the document and covered her mouth. Ryan, is this some kind of joke? Derek noticed the commotion and joined in. He looked at the screen, then at me. Wait, you're saying you made this? Built it from scratch, I said. Silence. It was one of those rare moments when you could hear the air shift. Everyone at the barbecue noticed something had changed. Whispers started spreading. My uncle came over, asking questions. Then my aunt. Before long, I was surrounded. People were stunned, not by the number itself, but by the fact that I'd done it silently, under their noses for years. Derek tried to laugh it off. That's impressive, man. You should have told us. We could have helped. I just smiled. Yeah, I said softly. You all helped, in your own way. That night, for the first time in years, my parents looked at me differently. Not with disappointment, but with a kind of quiet awe. Later, my dad pulled me aside and said something I'll never forget. I misjudged you, son. I thought you were lost, but you were just taking a different road. I told him it was okay, because it was. All that resentment I carried for years had turned into fuel. And now that the fire had done its job, I didn't need to keep burning. After that day, everything changed. Not dramatically, but subtly. My family stopped giving advice. They started listening. My mom began introducing me to people as my son the businessman. My dad, who used to lecture me about money, started asking for my input on investments. As for Derek, our relationship stayed civil but distant. The power dynamic had quietly flipped. He never mocked me again, but he also couldn't look at me the same way. And honestly, that was enough. I didn't want revenge. I just wanted peace. Today, my company operates in 6 countries. I own a logistics firm, an e-commerce brand group, and several real estate properties across the US and Asia. I live quietly, still below the radar, still avoiding the spotlight. Because what I learned through all of this is simple. Success doesn't need an audience. Sometimes the best way to win is in silence.